We are now going to meet the enemy and to beat them. The defeat of Major Van Horn at Brownstown must be repaired. The blood of our brethren, spilt by Tecumseh's Confederacy, must be avenged. I shall lead you. You shall not disgrace yourselves nor me. Every man who shall leave the ranks or fall back without orders, instantly charge the officers to execute this.
Then, turning to the veteran 4th Regiment of Regulars and our own Captain Snelling, he said,
"My brave soldiers, you will add another victory to that of Tippecanoe, another laurel to that gained on the Wabash last fall. If there is now any man in the ranks of the detachment who fears to meet the enemy, let him for corps.
All not stay! All not stay! All not stay!
Lieutenant Colonel Miller led his detachment to the River Rouge that night, crossed it in 2 scows, and bivouacked on its southern shore, the march being resumed early in the morning. Major Maxwell, with his scouts, led the way, followed by a vanguard of 40 men under our own high-souled Captain Snelling of the 4th Regulars. The march was very slow, owing to the difficulty of moving cannon over marshy ground. At about 9 in the morning, a sultry Sabbath morning, the sky overcast with clouds and not a leaf stirring upon the trees, it became evident that an enemy was near. The British, with Tecumseh's men, had formed an ambush in the Oak Woods, Tecumseh's men occupying the left of the line. There they had waited for several hours, awaiting the slowly approaching Americans. This was a detachment sent to repeat the tragedy of Major Van Horn's defeat and cut off communication to Detroit. The party consisted of about 100 of the 41st Regiment, as many Canadian militia, and between 200 and 300 of Tecumseh's men. It was between 3 and 4 o'clock in the afternoon when Snelling and his men reached the Oak Woods. They had just entered a clearing surrounded with an oak forest and thick bushes near the bank of the Detroit River when they received a terrible volley from a line of British regulars and Tecumseh's men.
Yep, ears.
A single shot on the left of the foe, then the terrible yells from Tecumseh's men, and then a heavy volley of musketry from the whole British line were the first intimations given to Snelling of the presence of the concealed enemy. He received and returned the fire gallantly and maintained his position until joined by the main body. Miller's quick ear caught the first sound of battle, and, ordering his men forward at double quick, he rode at full speed toward the field of conflict. As his troops came up and formed in battle order, he waved his sword aloft and cried,
Uh-oh, cover ears.
Charge!
gallantly and effectively obeyed. And at the same time, a 6-pounder poured in a storm of grape shot that made sad havoc. A body of Tecumseh's men that had been detached to the left of the foe and near the river were driven back by an impetuous charge of the Michigan and Ohio volunteers. The Canadians, who performed but little fighting in this engagement, mistook Tecumseh's men for allies of the Americans and fired upon them. Tecumseh's men returned fire, and for a few moments, these friends in the same service of the British seemed determined to annihilate each other.
Yankees Doodle went to town, party on the pony, stuck a feather in his cap and called it macaroni.
Tecumseh's men finally broke and fled, and Miller ordered Captain Sloan to pursue them with his cavalry. That officer's courage seemed to have been paralyzed for the moment. He stood still. Our impetuous Snelling perceived it and, rushing up to him, peremptorily ordered him to dismount, leaped upon the horse himself, and at the head of the troops, bareheaded, his hat having been shot away in the battle, his red hair streaming in the wind, he dashed after the enemy and pursued them more than 2 miles. The danger of ambush, the necessary care of the wounded, and the approach of night induced Lieutenant Colonel Miller to order a suspension of the chase. The rout and victory were complete. According to the British count, the loss of their regulars was 24, only one of whom was killed. That of the Canadians and Tecumseh's men were never reported, but our troops found 40 of the latter dead on the field. The loss of the Americans was 18 killed and 57 wounded. We hope you have enjoyed our presentation of the Battle of Oak Woods. Our next demonstration